Right. Good morning, all. Nice to see so many here this morning. I'm going to just briefly run through the finances of the club this season, bring you up to date with that. Oliver's going to bring you up to date with the pitch, and the problems we've got at the moment and what we're doing about it. Then I'll briefly explain to you the manager's position, and then Ryan will give you his opinion as to how things are going and answer any questions, and then we'll go into AOB. Okay then? Yeah. Financially, this year we're running very satisfactorily. We set a budget which this year we had to exclude the same level of income that we were previously getting through the college exercise. They are moving into a different direction. They're spreading their budget across a wider range of sports, whereas football had the lion's share. They're splitting it across about 4, 5, 6 different activities and spreading that budget more evenly. What it meant to us, we reduced our student numbers from approximately 60, 65 down to about 20, 25. That's roughly right, isn't it? Yeah. So that meant obviously a much lower income than we'd previously been having for many years. So that wasn't actually factored in, but two items were factored in where we're falling short. That's the door-to-door operation, which currently produces us about, budgeted 2025. We're not going to make that. That's fallen off quite significantly. We have had meetings with national canvassers, and they'll be starting mid-February, and we're looking to build that up over the next year, and the following year we will budget for how much are they planning on all of it?
They're planning on adding 2,000 members.
Which means an annual income of
50.
Yeah. So they will do that over the next year. At the end of the year we'll add 2,000 members. We've got about 1,600 at the moment to pay £1 a week, then you've got your prize money, what have you. So that will more than double our income. That will take that up to 50. That will be the following, not next season, the following season. And the other item that's fallen short was the youth club income that we had budgeted in. So we have those two items budgeted in that aren't making it. Through the cup run and other items, commercial activities, we are exceeding those items, and we're exceeding the fall off of those two items, and we're planning, it looks like we're projecting a 10k surplus by the end of the current financial year, which will carry over into next year's budget. So, you know, things are quite healthy there. We're still not increasing any borrowings. We have our bills on time, so nothing's changed there. So I'm quite happy with that. But in your program, it was Oliver's blog this time, and that's spelled out, and there's a lot more things, that a lot more detail in there. That's the program we should have had yesterday. So the finances of the club are quite clearly spelled out in there. As I say, if you've got any questions on that at the end, you can pose them at that time. The pitch, as you know, has been giving us some problems. The weather's not helped, but apart from that, there's things we can do. So I'm just going to pass you over to Oliver so that he can explain to you what the actual problems are, what we need to be doing, and when we're going to do it. Okay?
Yeah. So we found about 6 weeks ago that there was a problem with the pitch. There's a sort of horse fibre that was laid in the boxes, which is still being used now on new pitches, that helps the drainage, but we weren't aware or we weren't told at the time that every sort of 2 years that needs rotavating, relaying and reseeding. So we've been here 9 years and that hasn't been done once. So what that did is it raised to the top of the surface and it caused an algae then that sat on the top in the boxes. That just started rising when it got to that Doncaster again. That was the first time we saw it. We didn't know what the problem was then. Bob's worked a lot since then, working out what the problem is. So about 4 weeks ago, found out what the problem was. But at this stage of the season, we can't do anything about it because we can't rotivate it or reseed it now. So he's been working on other solutions, and that is aerating it as much as possible, basically. So the boxes are now a lot better. The algae has gone, he's treated the algae. So for the rest of this season we're going to aerate it as much as possible, and then in the close season we put some of the money that we're exceeding the budget is already allocated to improving the pitch. So it's going to be rotavated, it's going to be aerated, and we're going to have a 2-monthly aeration on the pitch. Because last season I think we're probably one of the best pitches. This is the first season where we've had a trouble with the pitch, and in fairness to Bob, it was out of his hands. You know, we should have been told by the people that laid it that every 2 years it needed rotavating. So we're in a difficult situation until about middle of February when it dries a little bit, and then we can get some aeration into it. What's made it worse is we've had 10 of our home games in December and January, which has just given Bob no chance to sort of rest it and go on for aerating. So that's where we are with that, right?
Okay, alright, thank you, Oliver. As far as the manager's position is concerned, as you all appreciate, we took the decision to change things a little while ago. And Ryan, as you know, he's director of football, and we decided that Ryan would take that position on a caretaker basis, and longer term we are looking to promote from within, because we believe we play a style of football that we want maintained from the youth right through to the under 18s, right through to the first team. It's very important for the club that traditionally doesn't have a good game, that we do produce young players locally where we can look forward to an element of loyalty, which holds us in good stead financially, and we're producing our own rather than being out in the marketplace competing always with clubs that sometimes have got a bit more budget than we have. So it's very important that we maintain that throughput of players, and hopefully longer term with more local players playing, the gates may improve. So that's the decision the board's made at this point in time. That's the way we would like to go and develop our management from within. On that note, then I'll pass over to Ryan. He can run through how he sees things going at the moment. Answer any questions you may have.
Thanks, Paul. I'll stand up so you can see me. Since the sort of tail end of November, I think the performance on the pitch has dramatically improved. I think the first few games, even Bromley at home, we ended up losing 1-0, but the atmosphere amongst the players in and around the dressing room afterwards, it didn't feel like a loss. It felt like it was a moment of sort of realisation for a lot of the players, where they thought, hang on a second, this team was supposed to be top of the league, and we have outperformed them on the day. We missed quite a few chances, and so unfortunately we didn't get any points from it. But more significantly, we demonstrated that we can perform at that level, and that gave us the belief and to want to turn up to training, want to be at games, looking forward to it. And that enjoyment, when you have that enjoyment in your game, you then work a bit harder, you're more focused on the day. It just breeds confidence straight away. And I think having so many games in a short period of time with that sound footing allowed us to build up a bit of trust with each other, because I was asking players right from the word go to do things perhaps that they hadn't been doing earlier in the season, or even for some what they've been doing for the majority of their career. But they've taken on board, they've had an open mind to it, they've taken the ideas on board, and they've gone out and they've shown trust in themselves and in each other to put the performances right. And I'm a great believer that if your focus is on the performance, then the result will take care of itself. If you perform well, you're more likely to get the points at the end of the day. It's not going to happen every time, but I think if you're performing well, even if you're not quite getting the results early on, things will change. You'll get that little bit of luck, that little change, and then away you go. So, like I said, I feel it's gone well so far, but we were just talking earlier about the results yesterday, and there's two ways to look at it for me. You want the teams below you to lose, but I would rather the teams below us were beating the teams just above us, so that we can continue to climb the table, rather than being concerned about keeping a gap below us. I would rather be looking the other way and trying to pick the teams off as we move up with the performances. Yeah, so that's it from me really. I think it's better to answer any questions you might have.
Over to you, Pat.
Well, if I may make a comment, Mr. Chairman. Before you came along, we couldn't buy a goal. Since you came along, we're banging it in on a regular basis, which is what it's all about. And full credit to you, sir.
We've got a few ideas up our sleeves as well, Tom. We worked on training yesterday, which you might see later on at certain stages in games and things like that as well. Because like you say, we have been scoring goals, but also we lose the surprise factor now. Teams will be doing their homework on us, so we need to be developing our game further and keep moving forwards.
Can we ask you, Ryan, please, are you happy to carry on to the end of the season on a caretaker basis?
Yeah, I'm happy. I mean, how I see it is I'm at the club for the long run, and my job as director of football is something where I find I will migrate back into, but I have to do it at the right time, so that there's a head coach that can develop and come into that role as I move back into sort of the board level. So I'm more than happy to be doing the job that I'm doing at the moment, but I feel that it's the start of a process, and we can't rush that process and try and bring somebody in quickly that perhaps doesn't share the same values as the club do, or perhaps doesn't want to operate within the structure and the strategy that we have in place.
Would you be allowed to mention a few names within that you think might be suitable for your
definitely.
position?
Yeah, I think that from within the squad there are people that demonstrate different qualities. That like everybody, they have strengths and weaknesses. We've got some good leaders in there. We've got some people that are a little bit perhaps more creative in how they see the game. But we have Tom's an example, Clayton, even Luke Pennell. We've got good senior players in the squad that look after the rest of the team very well. And for me, it's a natural progression for those players when they get to a certain stage in their career to be looking at where their involvement in football is going to lie when they stop playing. But I mean, I've said straight away to the senior players like Tom and Clayton, first and foremost, I want you to concentrate on playing and be prepared to play. And I'll take the weight, the burden of the preparations for the games. And at the right times then, I can start to, you know, we can collaborate and start to, you know, I can open up some of the ideas and show some of the mechanics behind the decisions, etc., which give a better insight, and then it's up to them then whether they choose to take that path or another one. But they have the option.
I think we are all amazed at the turnaround that you've shown since the previous manager left. I think a lot of supporters were worried that there was going to be a mass exodus. Rumours were going round, but it's pleasing to see that you have capitalised the situation, and obviously the results have shown.
Well, I think a huge advantage I had was that I've been watching the games, so I've been seeing how the players have performed, and I've been able to identify key areas that I felt would improve, and it hasn't been wholesale changes. It didn't need wholesale changes. It's been small changes, but significant ones. And that, for me, is what coaching is all about. It's having a small input with a bigger output. So, yeah, I might have just changed the direction slightly, but it's up to the players to drive us forward down that path, and they've done that very well.
If results continue, as we hope to do, the next 3 months, same results we've had for the last 7 weeks, it's difficult for you to move, wouldn't it? Because we'll be top half of the table.
Yeah, but it's, you mean my position?
Your position. I mean, you know, you've taken from tailed off at the bottom. You know, if the results continue like this, we'll be 7th to 8th on the table by the end. I'm not saying you obviously hope that will happen.
Yeah, well, I mean, for me, again, it's results can come and go. You can have a good run of form, and then the next minute you can't buy a win. So for me, results will fluctuate. That's what I anticipate. I look at it where if we're going to sustain success over longer than just a season, we need to plan for it, and we need to have that plan in place. So even if we continue on this run and you know, we do get up to 7th or 8th in the league, I'm not of the mindset to think, right, this is mine now, I've got to keep hold of it. I feel that it now becomes a more attractive job for somebody to step into, because I have to maintain that strategy, look after that longer term strategy, because we want to be 7th, 8th, 5th, year in, year out, rather than a one-off. Right. So that's where I sit.
I think what the feeling is that you might walk away from the club in, you know, in that role, rather than staying with us, which I know, and I've said so many times, Ryan's with us. We've got a young team that's going to take this club forward. You ought to really appreciate. He's not going to walk. Ryan's happy with what he's doing. I'm sorry, Ryan.
Yeah,
I felt I had
The
to
only
say
problem
that.
is if Ryan gets headhunted.
I'll make sure it doesn't happen.
He's on Dennis at the door. Dennis answers the phone.
He's on a contract, they'd have to pay a lot.
Yeah, like for me, I get a lot of enjoyment in my role here, because I get a bit of freedom from the board to develop my own coaching practice and to put the plans that I have in place, and they've backed me the whole way, the whole time that I've been here. So I wouldn't get that sort of freedom at the majority of other clubs. So for me, if I was to move on, it would have to be an unbelievable offer, not talking money-wise, but to have the freedom, the support, the trust that I could do that at a different level. Now, it's taken us sort of 5-6 years to get to that point. So far as I'm concerned, I'm committed here because I feel that like Dennis said, we've got a good young team, but we've got a good board that support the ideas that I've had. So for me, that's worth its weight in gold. Well, because there's no point, you see it in clubs where they go from year to year, they change managers, they change players, and each year they get so far, rip it up, start again. They get so far, rip it up, start again. And they don't get anywhere. They just chase their tail year in, year out. We're not doing that. We have a different structure at the club that doesn't centre on just the manager of the club. We have a structure in place that allows continuity from year to year. Players know the same jobs week in, week out, so they can become experts in what they do. That's a big carrot for a player. And consequently, year in, year out, we can look to build and improve and get better and better. But the structure of just everything revolving around the manager, I feel just is going to be very much a thing of the past. It's going to be about how the club operates. If you look at clubs in Europe, they're the ones that are successful. You know, I know it's way out of our sphere, but the likes of Barcelona and even like Borussia Dortmund in Germany. Look at Southampton now. You know, people talk about what Ronald Koeman's done this year. Actually, it's all about Les Reed. He's the person 5 years ago that put all these plans in place, and these players that are coming through. It didn't happen, you know, because they signed them last year. They've been developing them for the last 10 years. So, you know, I think they say in showbiz it takes 10 years to be an overnight success, and that's what's happened at Southampton. So, yeah, Ronald Koeman can take a lot of the credit, but the main person, the main driver there has been Les Reed.
I just wondered how much feedback you get from other clubs, managers, coaches, whatever, in this league, as to how, you know, what the model that you are using. Because I mean, I don't suppose there's that many clubs that have been in this league now from its start. I mean, so, you know, fair turnover. Some come and go regularly, others get promoted and so on. But we're probably one of quite a small number of clubs now that have been in Conference South since it started. And you know, for the size of the club and the budget, you know, we're remarkably successful really. And on our day, also play football probably as good as anyone. Yeah. So I just, anyway, the question is, you know, do you get much feedback as to how well we do?
Yeah, definitely. We get a mix. We get clubs that say you've got no chance. If you're going to be playing these young lads, your certs for relegation. You've got no chance. Then you have clubs then that say, we would love to do what you're doing. We would, you know, but can we do it yet? We're not quite ready to do it yet. And it's taking that leap of faith to throw them in and say, go and have a game. And I'll use Jake Llewellyn as an example. Last year we had Martin Slocum playing that position, and many regarded him as one of the best in the league in there. And I felt as soon as Martin got the offer from Bath City, for me, Martin's done extremely well here, but it was time for him to move on. And a big factor in that was knowing what was coming through behind him. And Jake Llewellyn stepped into it and done exceptionally well. So that has a factor in it. When we're signing players, I'm thinking, yeah, do they fit into the team? But also, are they perhaps going to stop the development of a potential player that's going to be coming through as well? So there are these factors then that play into it that mean when you sign a player, you're not just thinking about this Saturday, you're thinking a bit longer term. So Ollie Watkins is an example, doing extremely well, but is he going to be with us next year? He's most likely going to be at Exeter. If he's not at Exeter, then I'm sure his agent's going to have him touted round at clubs in the conference at least. So I have to think, right, well, what happens in that position then next year? You know, what game time is Sid Camper having now to continue his development in order to perhaps fill those boots next season? So that's where my job is, and it's difficult to try and balance that along with them preparing the players for Saturday, etc. And that's where I've had the support of the senior players, which has been really good. You know, Tom in particular, he sort of looks after the moral character, if you like, of the side, and he makes sure that everybody is making the right preparations for games. He's making sure that before the game he's giving information to people and helping them to prepare properly for the game. And it's in training, you know, he doesn't allow the standard of anybody to drop, and he leads by example. Now that is a godsend to the likes of me, because it allows me then, so if Tom's over here and he's concentrating on this group, I can be watching this group, and it allows us to work together, and that's the way forward for me, is to make sure that it doesn't rely on one person, but there's 3 or 4 people all there, all contributing to make sure that the direction is right.
The squad is a bit short in numbers, in some respects. The loan players have been helpful. How do you see the role of loan players supplementing your vision of the club going forward?
Again, I think loan players have to buy into the way that we want to do things, and it depends on what their other commitments are. So if they're coming in for a month with a view to go back and suits us, then great. But if they're going to come in for a month and it's going to stunt the growth of somebody else who's with us, then I'm not supportive of that. So it's using the loans to fill the holes in the squad that are there at the time. And for example, Piers Mitchell, he picked up an injury on Friday, so he wasn't available on Saturday, yesterday. Now for me, that's a particular weakness in our squad. And we need to be prepared for that. So my thought on it was to move Jamie Edge into there. And it's not a natural thing. It wouldn't be a long-term replacement. So I've got 2 players in mind that would cover that position. But I've also said to them, while Piers is with us, that he's going to play. So they understand that, and they're off getting games elsewhere. But in the future, if Piers was to get called back, I would have a replacement to come in straight away. And that's how I feel it should be used. The loan market should be used to fill the holes in the squad at the time. We're not a place where we're gonna have loans just for the sake of it because they're coming from a bigger club. And yeah, they might be a better player at the time, but in a month's time, after you've just knocked the confidence of your own lad, and they go back in a month's time, and you put your own player in, the team's going to be even worse off. So for me, I'd rather give the younger lads a chance.
So what season-long loans, they're a role?
I think they're great because they're part of the squad then. I think a season-long loan works because they're in with us. And I much prefer that arrangement than going from month to month. Yeah, we've got one. We haven't done the paperwork yet, so until the ink's dry, we don't say anything. But there's one player that we know well that we're looking to bring back into the squad. But again, it's Ollie Watkins' loan comes up on the 7th of February. So again, it's about planning for that time and thinking ahead. So we've made that. We're making that signing tomorrow, so that we've got that position covered if we can't renew the loan.
What is the position with our Liam Dempsey? Is he out for the season?
Yeah, he had an operation last Thursday to repair his cruciate ligament, and he had his cartilage sewn up. So he will be in rehabilitation for about nine months. So we're not looking really until perhaps Christmas, where he will be sort of fit, and even at that point he's going to need games to try and get back to a bit of form. So I would imagine that next year he will, I doubt he'll feature for us, but perhaps the year after he would be back into the squad.
Yeah. Can we trust in you, Ryan, that you will give your wholehearted support to the Somerset Professional Cup? Because some clubs aren't known, but I think we've got a passageway to get certainly to the semi-final, and it would do the club a little bit of good at this present time if we were to try and get to the final.
Yeah, we want to win every game.
Yeah.
We want to win every game that we're part of. But like I said, for me, I don't just go about it game by game basis. I have a plan there for the next 4 or 5 games, and it's important that if we're going to maintain a performance, that I need to give players the right rest time as well as the right time to play. For example, Jacob Kane didn't start against Chelmsford because I just felt he was just showing signs of fatigue in the games before. He has a bit of a rest, comes on, and I think he had a really good impact in the game. Joe McLennan's another one, played really, really well, hasn't done anything to not warrant a start in the 11th, but just for the amount of energy that we're demanding them to put into the games, they need time to rest to make sure that they stay at that level. And again, when Joe came on against Chelmsford, he had the desired effect. So yesterday I was going to rest Ollie Watkins because I just felt the same. When he went through for a few chances, gets to the end of the chance, and it was a tired finish rather than where he was showing more power against sort of Ebbsfleet and sides earlier on in his level. So he would have had a rest yesterday, and Joe would have come in, and that's how we manage it. And and we try and do the best by the players so that they can go out and perform at the level that we're asking, because they really want to do that. They really want to do that, and they're putting their heart and soul into training and their preparation. So it's important that I try and manage it the best I can to make sure that they stay at that level.
No, I'd just like to say, I'd just like to congratulate Tom and Jordan. Tom and Clayton, their performances in defence. They've got a lot of experience in the team, and it's been a long time since we've had a good centre half in, well, long time since Billy Clark, I think, since we've had in the team. I like to congratulate Tom the way he played this year, except for Clayton, because they've been revelation. I haven't seen a better middle two from any other team. Tom, Clayton. They've been excellent. The only problem is, like players like Tom and Clayton, good players, can we keep them? Every time you get a good player, a team comes in, what is the club changing? To keep our players.
No, thanks.
No, you're not going to be brilliant, Tom.
I'd like to agree with that statement. We've let in 48 goals this season so far. That's the league.
No, recently. No, since Clayton came back together.
I know, well, there's improvement to be made there, I suppose, defensively, but certainly in that short period of time that we've got ourselves refocused together and had a structure in place that we wanted everyone's bought into. I think our recent defensive record has been a little bit better.
Yeah.
So we've got to try and improve that, of course.
And I think we'd have had a clean sheet last Saturday as well. We had email.
Have you had that goalie?
Well, we had an email from the referee to apologise for the penalty decision. So, for me, that nearly fell off the seat.
It makes it exciting, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's it. But it's fair play for him for admitting his mistake, but it was glaringly obvious on the highlights.
Yeah.
But will you read now, do you think they're going to want to win the Chelsea?
Well, exactly. Who knows? But fair play to him for holding his hand up when a lot of others, you know, were just caught back under a rock somewhere and come back up there.
It was exciting to be 3-0 up with 10 minutes to go and they nearly equalised
Yeah.
the other day.
That was Sutton. That was a
Yeah.
wonderful.
They did okay.
They ran out of time, didn't they?
Well judged.
Yeah. Just want to make it clear that if you leave early, you know you could lose out on excitement. So make sure you stay till the end.
Is this a question of us turning off in these last few minutes? Because that's 3 goals in the last sort of 3 or 4 months in the last 2 games.
Yeah, I don't think it's a question of necessarily turning off. I think that we put so much effort into the game with a heavy pitch. I just feel that it's a bit of fatigue really at that point. And you got to bear in mind that the sides that we're playing against have many good players in them. I think when we played Sutton, it was the last game that Charlie Clough played before he went off to Forest Green, and he scored a header from about the penalty spot, which you know and it was a very good header. It was a good moment for him, and then I felt the second goal. We didn't recover as a midfield quickly enough to the edge of the box. But again, this was very, very late in the game, having played on a heavy pitch against the side that had had more possession than us. It wasn't through a lack of effort. It was just pure fatigue. Yeah, we can get fitter. There's room for improvement always. But also, in other games like Farnborough, we scored 2 goals late on. Chelmsford, I think 80th minute was the second goal. So we have shown as well that we can finish games quite strongly.
You just mentioned that 80th minute goal against Chelmsford, and Dale Grubb obviously scored a great shot. I mean, apart from loyalty to the club, how easy is it to keep hold of Dale Grubb?
Pretty easy at the minute because he's got another year left on his contract. So at the moment, keeping hold of Dale isn't a problem. And again, where we sit as a whole club, we're not encouraging players to move sideways. We want players to move up. If one of these conference clubs or League 2 sides actually venture out and watch some of our games, then there might be some potential suitors, but they're not doing their homework at the moment.
Yeah, the confusing thing really on Dale is why has no one come in for him?
Yeah,
because he should be moving on.
yeah. So if that was to happen, then it needs to be right for the potential new club, it needs to be right for Dale, and it needs to be right for the football club as well. And getting those 3 things is not always easy, but if we could get those 3 things right, then I would be a great supporter of Dale moving on, because one, it shows people outside the club what we're capable of, what types of players we're capable of producing, but also we have the ready-made replacements to step in and to pick up where he is at the moment. And that's what the whole thing, the whole structure, the whole strategy is all about.
Does he believe in himself now? I mean, occasionally, I thought in the past 2 seasons when he has been exceptional at times, he's also drifted out of games, and sometimes he looks like he can run the whole game on his own when he's really on it. And does he actually believe that he's really good?
Yeah, I think the belief has been there. but I don't think that necessarily he's played in a position that has wholeheartedly suited his game, particularly when he's played wide. But also, we've made some tactical changes to the players around him that get the best out of him as well. I think earlier in the season when he was playing in a similar position, he had less players in front of him, so he wasn't able to find a forward pass because he perhaps had one player ahead of him, and that meant that he had to do it all on his own. And that for me was unfair to put that whole responsibility on him. So the players around him are performing well, and that's getting the best out of him.
Ryan, the last few weeks you've brought along some of the under-18s to get experience by away games and that. Is that those three that you bring along, like Tyler and that, is it because they're going to be too old for the under-18s next season?
Yeah, I mean they need to get used to the environment. They need to know what a first team training session is like, what the intensity is like, what sort of demands the likes of Tom are going to place on them straight away, and they need to feel part of the group before they're going to be able to feel that they can step out on the pitch and play. But more importantly than that, the senior players need to know them so that if they do come through and make their debut in the next 18 months, they know what they're capable of, they can support them in the right way, and they've spent that time to earn the trust of the senior players before they go out and make that leap. And that for me starts in training. Players like Bradley Ash, Dale Grubb, Luke Pennell, Jake Morford, Jake Llewellyn Sid, they've had to earn the trust in training before they've made their appearance in the first team. We've all had to do it, it's an important part of the process. So that's just starting for those three.
There's been a few questions asked on Facebook. Other people says big numbers aren't great. What can the club and the club do to try and get a few more people? Yes, got a few ideas.
Yeah, well, we're working on loads of incentives, like the hat-trick offer we put out on Fridays. Just trying to do as much as we can, and I'm surprised at the gate coming in for 105,000 population and Weston, I think we're up to something like that. It's very low, isn't it? It's very poor. I believe it's got to be driven through schools and the community, and that's what we're doing. And I think we are going the right way. It just takes time. It's not an overnight fix.
He's also mentioned that he's been to see Paul Merson at the Royal last year. We haven't seen him sharp. All the clubs were like be doing something or planning on doing some sort of.
We've tried these things over the years. There's no reason why we won't do it again. There's quite a big outlay on that sort of thing, and they'll probably just about cover up the tickets, so you make the money on the bar then. But there's no reason we can't give that sort of thing another go. At the moment we're working on a big end of season do. We're redecorating the function room, and we could, next project, do something like that.
When we played Bath City against the Western Daily Press, morning of the match, there were 60 lines on the match. 57 of them about Bath, 3 about Weston. I mean, we're an equal club to Bath. Why do they get all the publicity?
It's a good question.
And we don't.
It's a good question. I don't think it's through lack of effort from the club. It's to do with the publications, I would say. And this question has been fired at us quite a few times of what we're doing to promote. I think we are doing as much as we can to promote, to be honest. I think what would help is a bit of pressure on those publications through perhaps letters from fans, for example, to say, why are we not reading about our club? And that two-pronged approach to it hopefully would see a change. But for me at the moment, I agree with you. I don't feel we get the recognition that we deserve as a club externally from not all local media, but from some local media.
It's quite interesting actually, when we had the Doncaster Rovers game, because that was a very attractive match, we had all of the media from virtually all over the country flooding us with questions, with reports and so on. Now, we do produce to people like the Western Daily Press, Bristol Evening News, match reports, photographs, match previews, and all sorts of things like that. They get all of the emails that we send out to all of the press, and we do hammer them regularly on why they don't publish more of our games. And I think part of the reason is, apart from what Ryan has said, is that Bath City is so much closer to the centre of Bristol than we are in terms of population. They forget that we're here. I mean, even organisations like Breeze, a local radio station, we give them every article that we produce. And how often do we get on Breeze? Very, very seldom. As Ryan says, perhaps peer pressure through the fans might help us in that respect.
Another great thing, of course, is that they sell an awful lot more Western daily presses over in Bath than they do at Western. And naturally enough, they give more publicity to the Bath side. That's one of the reasons.
Same argument can be made for Radio Bristol. I mean, they're pretty third-rate sports, really, compared with other towns, I think.
Well, Radio Bristol, can I just answer that? Up until 12 months ago, they were regular visitors to this ground. They asked for certain new technology to be introduced here. We did that in the press box, and the only time that they've appeared at all is on the Doncaster Rovers game.
Yeah, they're not very good, are they?
Ollie, what's the news on the club now itself? Like staying or moving? People keep asking me. You know?
We're probably not moving.
Probably not moving.
But we definitely are looking to develop the site. We're really in the hands of the council now.
Yeah.
So it could take a bit of time, but it will happen.
When you say develop, you mean residential rather than?
No, sorry, not really sell off anything now, just work with what we've got here, but improve what we've got. So put a 3G facility here, and maybe some training 3G facilities, increase the changing rooms, put a gym. Still got plans to go above here. So if we did get the backing of the council, we could have sort of a gym or a classroom here and put the boardroom above here. So, and down by the sports hall, we've got plans there between the office and the sports hall to make that either more classrooms or offices. So depending on what the council want from us, with all the housing going across here, they basically can see that we operate a good business and that we are good for the community. It's a lot to do with the charity. The charity have done so much in all the schools and with the local authority that they come to us, the council, to say, you know, what can we put on the site here for all the houses that are being built around us.
Would you converse with the players regarding a 3G pitch? I had the privilege to speak to a bloke yesterday who played 90 minutes at World School, and he said his reaction to that pitch was absolutely horrendous.
Just coincidentally, Ryan has just said that an hour ago. Yeah. He said it's not good out there.
No.
But that's not how 3Gs are. I think they possibly haven't done everything that you can do to keep
well, this particular player said there was no give in the pitch at all. So and he said his legs and his back was aching tremendously after he played 90 minutes.
Right, well, ours would be different to that. The Somerset FA are in full support of what we want to do. So ours would be a top quality football only, whereas Atwell is not quite top quality. It is the best in the area, but they try and do a lot of sports on there. And we would still have a groundsman. So we would sweep it, relay it all the time. So I think there would be a bit of resistance from the players.
Yeah.
but ultimately we've got to think about the club for the future, and you know it can raise up to £50,000, and we wouldn't have games off.
Does the conference agree?
There's a lot of meetings involved,
Yeah, about 10 hours work per week for the amount of hours that we would rent it out is the maintenance involved. Cost-wise, every 10 years you've got to relay it.
I've never seen previous 3G or period of the week. So, person said it knocks 5 years off the player's life.
I don't think so, but can you not tell Tom that? Sorry, what was the question?
Has the conference agreed?
Yeah, it's a bit of a strange one, this. They did, and then the Football League rejected. Is that right?
The Division 1 and 2 of the Football League agreed it. And then the Championship Division of the Football League came in and said they didn't want 3G pitches, so they took another vote between all three of the divisions, which ended in a draw. So the chairman of the meeting had a casting vote, and at the moment 3G pitches for the Football League haven't been approved. However, the Football Conference are still discussing whether they can go it alone in terms of allowing football 3G pitches for next season. And just to add to that, they've already agreed as a one-off that if Maidstone United are promoted to the Football Conference, they will be allowed to retain their 3G pitch. So the omens are looking reasonably good for the conference to actually go with 3G pitches from next season. The other thing I should just say that when the vote was taken at the Football Conference 12 months ago, when the notion was turned down, clubs like Woking said, well, if we get promoted to the Football League, we're quite happy to have a 3G pitch now, but if the Football League don't approve it, we're quite happy to rip it up and go back to a grass pitch.
So the FA Cup allow it, which is a major part of the change of it. It will happen. You will be able to have 3Gs, it's just when. We want it as soon as possible.
Isn't that a deterrent for pre-season defenders? I don't see Football League running the penalty.
Well, at the moment, nearly every club, professional club, half of their pitch is 3G, mixed with grass. They do, I can't remember the name of it, but it's sorry? Something like that. Yeah, Bristol City have just laid it. 1.5 million apparently.
Yeah.
So it's not much different.
Going back to the gate body, would it hold that the concession potentially was reduced from 65 to 60 on a season ticket?
Yeah, some clubs do it over 60. We are reshaping our ticket prices for next season. So it's a consideration. What do you think that would?
Well, instead of 65 and over, it would be 60 and over on the day of the game, plus season tickets.
Yeah, we could look at that. Some clubs are 60. There's no reason why we
60 is
keep it at 65. How I'd just like to say one thing. I'd just like to congratulate Neil and Jerry for the job they're doing down here in the club shop and also sponsorship. Yeah. It's the best club shop we've had down here. It's like you can walk around with shirts, home and away, and scouts and that full. Yeah. I think they've done a brilliant job, Neil and Jerry.
Yeah. That's what I was saying about these youngsters.
Yeah.
Sorry. It's all right. Using the bar prior to the match. Can we not do say 50 pence or whatever, not the point? So
do a happy hour.
Happy hour.
All day.
That's the only hour we hit the bar.
Sorry, are you saying that not many come in?
Not our own supporters.
Our own support, no.
They come in the quarter 2, quarter 3.
Well, we are focusing on getting more people to the game, so I wonder if we could get more, we could do an advert on coming to the game and something like that.
Give it,
You know, I'm working with That's right, that's the other option, food. I've tried to push the food a bit, it's not working at the moment, but we are going to get back onto that. But we could do a package, you know, we could look at something like that, £15 maybe, you come in and you have a ticket, a meal and a pint. We'll look at that sort of stuff.
But you must accept the fact that all pubs are, basically the ones that are doing food are doing well. Those pubs that are just serving beer, it's changing society, I'm afraid. We're very lucky down here that some nights we've got wood turning, we've got keyboards, we've got all sorts of things going on. If it wasn't for that and the skittles, thered be nobody in here.
Yeah, but you've also got some Saturday nights, Dennis, when you've got nothing.
No, that's right.
So you've got
well, there's two different bits. There's the midweek bit and there's functions.
Yeah.
The midweek stuff and food will be helped a lot when we have the houses around us. Because at the moment we've got hardly anyone that will just sort of walk in here and then walk home. It's a bit too far to come. Function, we've got to look at doing something different. We've got to, you know, I want to redo the room. I want to do some wedding packages. And you're right, there's more money in that than the midweek stuff. They don't drink that much now at Skittles. We've got to get Fridays and Saturdays.
I mean, I think one of there's no quick fix. But when you talk about crowds and whatever, but I honestly think one of the easiest ways of possibly introducing more is to offer Rovers and City fans £5 extras.
There was some comments when we put this release that's in here.
Yeah,
I went into Facebook and there is some comments about Bristol.
But I mean, a few seasons ago, Rovers Supporters Club used to sponsor a game here.
They did, yes.
Rovers, the Western branch of the Rovers.
A.D. Clark, I think, was his bunch, yeah.
Now, obviously, those people, they meet somewhere, somewhere. It would be ideal to go to one of those meetings. And if also City, you know, maybe if it's an advert in the programs there, you know, whereby if you show your season ticket, you get half price. You know, now I know there might be some people in this room who think, bloody hell, why are you letting them in?
That's what's been in our mind. You know, we don't want to upset any of our loyal season ticket holders.
If I can answer that question now, right? He's not here today. I was going to pick on Mike Barber. I'm going to pick on you. What's your name?
John.
John. You sit by me, don't you? Yeah. Now, if you take something like John, or Mike Barber, right, they go to a game, they have a drink. I know Mike brings it back. Have a drink. He might buy a program. He might buy a cup of tea, and he might buy a half-time draw ticket. But a lot of these people here, that's it. That's all you've got to spend, right? That's all you've got to spend. So if you want to increase, if you want to go up a league, you know, and get the best football here possible, right, without costing you another penny, that's the only way to do it.
By bringing in other people with offers.
Yes.
Yep,
That's the only way to do it. Because we hit you every single bloody week. A pound for this, a pound for that, pound. And you're thinking, well, I ain't got no frigging money. You know, I can't. You know. So why not get other people in at half price, right? But to get a better standard of football, it ain't going to cost you an extra penny.
Yeah. So that comment was a main one on Facebook about Bristol City and Rovers, and there were a couple of other good comments on there. We aren't going to ignore them.
It's all right commenting, right? But I just wanted to give an answer to the people, right? Who might be moaning about, oh, Christ, what you don't pay for it.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
But we know, those people on the top table know, right? They can't keep hitting you week in, week out for an extra pound for this, an extra pound for that. So why not get other people to subsidise it for you?
But this
isn't
going
that way,
to work.
That's a positive.
This isn't going to work because when we had the Doncaster game, you had a free entry to the next home game.
Yeah.
And what attendance did we have?
Yeah, but you've got to remember, right?
That's all.
You've got to remember
free entry.
You've got to remember the weather played a part in that. Because we couldn't play it exactly straight after, could we?
That's right, it was
We
delayed.
couldn't play it straight after. So the impetus had gone. The impetus had gone.
What will help Gates is just getting the interest in the team and the club up, and that is what is taking a long time, but it's happening. It's with the kids, with what Neil is doing with the mascots. You know, they're all wearing the shirts. They wear the shirt then to school. The kids ask, what top's that? A Western top. The interest then, you know, but it takes five years, that sort of thing. Well, that's the other thing. We're going to do offers with our junior team's parents. You know, they should be, well, as soon as some of those come through into the 18s and then the first team, they will be interested. And again, that's taking a bit of time, but you can see it beginning to happen there. You know, we were at Bath and I saw about 10 Western shirts. Well, you wouldn't have seen that 3 or 4 years ago.
One thing I was about, sorry, on the warm-ups, there's building the pitch at the moment. Why can't Archie go in the rugby, turn the whole meeting off, and run them down, up and down to your ball control, and get this out one like that, right? Why do you have to go on the pitch?
Because you have to prepare more than just your body. You've got to prepare your mind, you've got to prepare technically, you've got to get used to certain areas within the pitch. So it's not as straightforward as just warming your body up. You have to get used to the conditions you're about to play in. So if it's windy out there, we're doing say long balls for say Tom who's going to head and he's going to try and get the conditions right for the game. If you're also looking at it from a motivational point of view, then you want to be out there and you want to be getting a feel for the game. So you lose that by going in the sports or going out on the training.
There is no time to
It will improve as the weather gets better.
There's just one thing about advertising the games. At one time we used to advertise on the back page of the Mercury an advert for the games. Secondly, the new board outside, although it looks nice, it's not clear when you're driving past. You've got a job to read it. And also, the games aren't put up early enough. I think once one game is finished, the next one should be up there, even if it's up there for fortnight. It don't seem to go up there a couple of days beforehand, and it's not really clear as you're driving past.
We spent a bit of time trying to make sure that board was right. It's very difficult to get the right information clear on it. So what we did was we made it as big as possible, but we don't put a date, do we? We put a day to try and make it as clear as possible. But that means you can't put it up any earlier than a week in advance. You know, is it important that you can see who we're playing? Probably not. It's more important when the next game's there, and maybe we need to look at it and make the team a bit smaller. But the next date of the game, maybe put that there so you can see that.
Well, there seems to be a lot on it, and it's very small print on it. Nothing stands out at all. I mean, it doesn't affect me because I know I've got fixtures, I know when the games are, but if you want to try and attract anybody that's passing, even visitors coming to the town, have it nice and clear so it stands out.
Yeah, it is a busy road and it's a good place of advertising. So
It should be floodlit. The board should be floodlit.
Yeah.
A lot of people go, as you said, a lot of people go past.
That would stand out then, even though it's not very big. You're stuck in traffic on there. If it was floodlit.
Yeah, because quite often there's vans parked.
Yeah. We also looked at putting it down by the traffic light. That's an ideal spot. So possibly we could do that. You know, where that bit of grass is down. That's a better spot. So we could do that. We could floodlight it. No, it's back a bit from the path. It won't be a problem for sight for driving. That's probably a better spot. And we'll floodlight it. That would be the job. Going back to the Mercury bit, we did pay for that spot in the Mercury.
I appreciate it.
And we didn't know whether that was getting our crowd up or down, and I don't think it affected it. When we took it out, our crowd didn't drop. If we put it back in, is the crowd going to go up? We could try it. We are actually talking to the Mercury at the moment about doing a bit of a different advert on their online sort of thing for all of our home games. We might give that a go, see if that brings in anything different.
You done?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I'd just like to close the meeting, and before doing so, congratulate Ryan on the results that he's achieved so far, and very well done. Long may it continue. And I'd like to compliment Tom here on his leadership and commitment, particularly when we were going through that very bad spell. He was always out there encouraging the youngsters with his own game. He maintained his own game, and there was a lot of responsibility on his shoulders, and I think he's done a great job for the club. And I'd like to thank him very much for his input over the season so far. And I'd like to thank you all for coming and showing your interest in the club, and enjoy the rest of the season. Thanks.